everybody, welcome to the Stock Car Spectacle. I'm Ian Jortson.
I'm Mike Gamble.
I'm Nick Kinsel.
And I'm Connor Bunn, one half, the whole damn For the Lead podcast right now. Joining you guys again for another week on Stock Car Spectacle. Appreciate you guys having me.
Thanks for joining us, bud.
Always, buddy. Always.
And so let's start off with our diecast of the week. Nick, what you got, bud?
Boys, so now that Darlington's over, it's Coca-Cola 600 week, so I've been saving this one for a while. It's the Brad Keselowski 2017 Patriotic Team Support the Troops. Also came autographed as well. This was my first purchase on the Plan B sales, Black Friday sale last year. Because it was like $50. So, and the red, the white, blue, the Miller Lite schemes. I'm happy Miller Lite's going to be on the car for the 600 this week because we haven't seen them because of their scheme now. So the Miller Lite Patriotic schemes are always one of my favorites.
All I know is come November, I'm stealing your credit card.
That scheme looked real good until Chase Elliott was packed into the ass of it.
Yeah, no kidding.
It didn't last very long, but yeah.
Oh yeah, I got that I got that diecast. So I don't know if it's from the same race, but I got that from the Black Friday sale as well.
Oh, yeah. They do a great job with their patriotic schemes. I remember just how much it stood out seeing in person the Stars and Stripes weekend in Chicagoland a couple years ago. Like I just couldn't take my eyes off that car on the track. It was just insane how good it looked. Sun shining off. It's just a beautiful car. Miller always kills it with those.
Yeah, it sucks to see what they deal with Penske right now that they're only doing this one race. But, hey, it's going to look – Keselowski's car on Sunday, it's going to look great. Miller Lite.
It's weird because, it's their longest sponsor. They've been on the two since, Rusty was there. So,
yeah,
it's just weird.
Miller has survived how many drivers on the two car? You got Rusty, Kurt, obviously Brad himself. Who else am I missing in there?
Well, I mean, back in the day, they had like Miller High Life and all that. I think one of the Allisons drove the High Life car.
Yeah,
Bobby did. Yep.
Yeah. All right, Mike. So what you got?
All right, so we're gonna go a little bit of story time with old Gambler for a second here. For our avid Stock Car Spectacle viewers and listeners, you may remember we did a playoff bracket challenge last year, and the winner, your boy, got a piece of merch choice of his choice as the winner. The original choice was the Barstool Sports Pit Crew shirt, but for everybody else out there looking for that bad boy, they aren't easy to come by right now. So we settled on a little bit of a middle ground here. So the boys were nice enough to find for me the Bubba Wallace Aftershocks Race Used Pit Crew shirt. Thank you, Racing Warehouse. So Ian, one thing we forgot to talk about when we brought over it, just doing a little search down memory lane. You know what that means? This is Daytona 500 used, baby. That's pretty cool. I'm thinking about it. They only ran that sponsor the one race, so
that's right.
Yeah.
Hell yeah.
With that being said, and Bubba having a pretty decent showing last night, and the Toyota 500 finishing P16, and had there not been rain starting on the outside row, I think he would have gotten probably 2, 3, 4 more spots. So I had to rock the Bubba stuff. And with that being said, my diecast of the week is going to be the matching Daytona 500 Aftershocks car autographed by my man himself.
Nice.
I mean,
Very
too
nice.
fitting. You can't not do it. I was like,
yeah.
I don't really have any like the Coca-Cola 600 like race win diecast or anything like that. None of my drivers have really won it. So what better fitting way to bring this shirt in and bring that diecast on again. So
Awesome. No doubt.
That car looked pretty cool in person too at the 500. I've never really been a fan of like the petty blue cars with like the different type sponsorships like on it. Like I didn't think like Aftershocks would like look really cool look really good on a petty car, but I actually like the way that it turned down on that scheme, and it looked really good in person at the 500 until whatever happened in Buffalo. Like got crashed, but it looked good.
I always tell the story that it's one of my least favorite diecasts solely because I bought it autographed from Plan B sales before they even ran the 500. I already had the pre-order on it. And then he wrecked. I was like, man, I should just waited on this one. So it's like you look at it, always brings up bad memories. But one of the things I'll always remember about that, and I was really surprised they only ran the one race with Aftershocks because they were so active on social media. Like 43 fans were tweeting them like, man, we are loving this. This is amazing. We're gonna have to look into doing more races, and then we never saw him again. So that part was crazy. But I love the look of that car, like you said too. It's like you look at my boy Blaney with the yellow and how much they add other, and it just looks really stupid. This was one where the petty blue with that looked great.
Oh
Yeah.
Yeah, Blaney's yellow and green car doesn't really look that good.
No, not at all.
Yeah.
All right, Ian, what do you got for us? I know you always got something cool. What do you got for us today?
Well, to kind of go after Mr. Chase Briscoe's big win today, I don't have a Chase Briscoe diecast, but I got something damn near close. I got Kevin Harvick's Xfinity Hunt Brothers 98 car. It's signed by Kevin Harvick, and it was part-time that season, so Chase Briscoe, he was driving this car a lot in I believe it was the 2018 season. Obviously huge win for Briscoe today, so I had to bring out this bad boy.
I think that's fitting. I think it's fitting too because Harvick ran that scheme at Darlington in 2018.
Ross Chastain.
I believe Chastain gave him the old hooker too.
Right.
It was a little bit different of a scheme, but basically, he had Hunt Brothers for that. Yeah.
Nice.
Because that's what we saw him run Chicagoland 2 years ago too, right? Was Hunt Brothers in the Xfinity race. Yep.
Exactly.
Oh, look at all the parallels we're drawing here, boys.
Hell yeah. All right, what you got, Connor?
So I am not at my main place of residence tonight, but I was looking around the room that I'm sitting in. I'm going to channel my inner narcissist and grab this old 8th grade Connor Bunn basketball action figure from Rec Basketball.
No way.
Sleeve on. Pretty iconic. Didn't even know this was a thing, but I was just sitting in this room, so I figured why not grab the old action figure? One of one, very rare.
Looks like it's about life size too.
Back it up. This probably was a little life size. I think I'm only grown an inch or two from then.
That's amazing.
That's awesome. That is awesome.
One of the best one that we've had since we started doing that.
Yeah, you definitely win diecast of the week right there.
Hey, I appreciate it, guys. I'm on.
I go on this big whole rant and rave and spiel on mine. Think I got this cool story. He's like, all right, cool. I'm gonna beat it in 3 seconds. Check it out. It's me, guys.
A little action figure version of Connor sitting here posted up with a basketball in my hand. But those were the good old days.
Hoop dreams, baby.
There you go, man. And before we start the show, guys, make sure to follow us on Twitter. Our Stock Car Spectacle Twitter handle is stock_car_spec. You can follow me at NASCAR_Ian.
Instagram is the Gambler 2323, and Twitter is the Riot Like 23, I believe, or is it the Gambler? I think it's the Gambler 23 as well.
It is.
It's the Gambler 23. That's my PlayStation name. If anybody wants that work in NHL 20, it's the Riot Like 23.
They don't do it
right now for anybody who wants to work.
So on Twitter, the handle is pretty easy. It's just Zell824. And then Instagram, I think, is NickKinsel_06. Rest in peace, Six God.
Rest in peace.
Pour one out for Trev. Pour out a coffee for Trevor.
Pour out
Pour out an espresso for our homie.
All right, Connor Bunn __ on Instagram. That's where you can find me on there. And then on Twitter, I'm just at Connor Bunn. Twitter's been a hotbed for us Kyle Busch fans the last couple of days. So definitely tune in there to get all my opinions.
Yeah, that's for sure. Lots of opinions coming your way lately.
Oh, yeah.
And guys, just make sure to look out for a new episode of Kinzel's Classroom this week. We're going to be grading all the drivers from Darlington. And make sure to look out for our race preview for the Coca-Cola 600. I wouldn't even call it a weekend because we're going to be starting racing on Sunday and racing through Wednesday. So I guess the week of the Coca-Cola 600 we can call it. And then we got the Gamblers betting odds as well coming up soon.
Who more or less went 2 for 2 for the week. So I'll take that as a big old win. And I thought I wasn't going to be anywhere near close. So I'll take that.
Hey, you called it. It was going to be the veteran show.
Yeah.
All right, boys.
Yes, sir.
So let's dig into the Real Heroes 400. This was the first race back.
To do in 2 months. First race review we got to do in 2 months. We're back.
71 days without racing for these guys. So to start it all off, Brad Keselowski won the pole from a random drawing. There you go. And then, guys, I mean, you can't make this stuff up. On lap 1, we have Ricky Stenhouse Jr. going for a ride and hitting the wall, ending his day early.
Yeah, Kinstradamus over here called it before it happened too, which is pretty crazy.
I had a Skype call about an hour before the race started, and I said, if anything, Ricky Stenhouse on lap 1, everyone's going to be calm, but Stenhouse is going to be that guy. He's going to wreck on lap 1. I wish we had the footage to show that I actually said that, but it happened, and I was like, wow, I'm going to go buy a lottery ticket right now.
Like I said it after the race or a couple days after and stuff, and by no means am I trying to really just bash on the guy, because I mean he's probably not in the best place in his career and stuff, and I hate to kick him in while he's down, but it just seems to me like as the years go on for Ricky Stenhouse, the worse he gets in terms of driving ability. I mean, we're lap 1 coming out of turn 2 at Darlington on a completely green track. We haven't raced in 2 months, and he's racing around guys who some of them haven't even turned a lap on Darlington in their career, and he's 3 wide coming out of turn 1 with a car that hasn't even practiced, qualified, anything. It's like, what do you expect is going to happen? Like that is a move that I would expect rookies in the Truck Series to make, not a veteran in the Cup Series. And it's just like, I don't know if I've ever seen anything like this in my life, to where it seems like the guy is just, going out there with his sole intent is to just junk JTG Doherty cars every week. So
yeah, I agree. It's like he has this notion, like this knack, just like to put himself in like what's the most ridiculous situation possible, borderline asinine, and you could probably find Ricky Stenhouse in the middle of it. Yep. Like a couple years ago, wrecking people, like multiple people, like from the front of the pack at super speedways to this kind of stuff. It's like every time you turn around, it's like, okay, what's the craziest thing that can happen? What's the dumbest thing that can happen? He finds a way into it, which is weird because I definitely thought this move over to the 47 was going to be one of those things that kind of would validate a little bit of what we always like to call the Roush curse. But yeah, it's not looking like that's worked out for either driver so far.
Yeah, for him, it's like new number, same with him. It's crazy because I thought too that this move was going to work out for him, but there was just really no need for that because, like Connor said, green racetrack. Some of these guys, we haven't raced in 2 months. There's just no need for it. I really thought that they were going to keep it cool until the competition caution, but he couldn't wait that long apparently, and yep, didn't even make it 1 lap. He made it 2 turns.
And I agree. And I mean, it's just like, at first when I, heard the news of the switch over going to JTG, I was like, maybe this is good for Stenhouse. Maybe this will like kind of give him like a little kick to like prove Roush wrong. But then it's like his crew chief followed him over there. Some other people followed him over there. So it was like really, it's just the same Stenhouse in just a different number. And it's like I think pairing him with a different crew chief and a different team, just giving him a completely fresh start would have been better. And, speaking in terms of Kyle, my guy, and I'm sure, you're Ian the Harvick fan, DeBetta Dodo fan, Blaney Bubba fan. I mean, you guys know when your driver gets around either A, that 47 or B, that 6, it's going to be a battle. That they're doing everything in their power to make it the hardest to get around you. And, Ryan Newman's kind of prided himself on that, but he's got the wins and he's got kind of the legacy to pride himself on that. It's just like Stenhouse has just kind of drug his own name through the dirt and his own, I guess, ability behind a race car and in the dirt. And it's just like makes me scratch my head as to like, why? Like, why keep doing this,
Yeah. You really think he'd have like 1 year where he would be like, hey, listen, I'm just going to be super conservative, almost do like Eric Almirola in the 43. I'm going to be super conservative, even if I can try to maybe go up and get a top 10 with this 15th placed car. I'm going to drive it to the best of my ability, but not over the line. If I get up to 12th or 13th, cool, but I'm not going to wreck it trying to do more than I can. Have a year like that and just see what's what, but it's just like it never happens.
No, it's always just same full send. I'm either gonna crash the thing or I'm gonna finish mid pack 2 laps down. I'm gonna piss somebody off. That's like his only two options.
He is
Oh,
full on checkers or wreckers. That's it. That's all he's got in him. Yep.
that's
Really
all.
makes you think if his driving's going to mature up or not.
Oh,
I
that
mean,
totally has it. He's been in the Cup
No.
Series since what 2013,
Yeah.
and it's
Yeah.
been the same thing year in year out for him. So
I mean,
He's not 22.
no,
how
Yeah.
how many other chances is he really gonna get if he
Right.
cannot keep the car in one piece? Like,
right. And
you just
Time can only tell, man.
to build off that, I'll say, JTG is nowhere near the organization Roush is in terms of money. They don't have the money to keep fixing and buying new cars that he's going to crash. And eventually that money's going to run out and that patience going to run out with JTG.
Mhm.
I mean, this is, if I'm looking at it from, a career perspective, like this is like kind of the last straw for Stenhouse. I mean,
Yeah.
JTG is by no means the worst organization out there, but it's far from the best. And if you
Yeah.
can get anything in a JTG car and a Roush car, opportunities are really going to be hard to come by in the future.
Yeah. I agree wholeheartedly.
all right.
All right. So, for the first time that I don't think we've ever seen this before, we had the modified competition caution. So, they stopped the cars on pit road. Crews got to check everything, make sure everything was working since they didn't have any practice or qualifying. This was the first time that they were letting these cars out. So, that was pretty cool to see. Hey, Nick, we saw something kind of like that at Iowa Speedway with the K&N race.
K&N cars, yeah. So no, that was good on NASCAR's part. I mean, they didn't get to practice or qualify, so it was good to let them check their cars, make sure everything's good, and to have them not lose their position. That was really smart on their part.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Definitely needed it there. Nick, you hit the nail on the head. If you can't have a practice, at least you had, those kind of first couple competitive laps almost be like a pseudo practice. So at least we had that. So yeah, good call by NASCAR there.
Yeah, I wasn't a fan of the no practice, no qualifying thing. I've been vocal about it being sort of gimmicky. But I do applaud NASCAR for allowing the teams just to kind of have an extra extended period of time just to kind of like, reset their cars and stuff. And, I was thankful for it because, first 30 some odd laps, we were in the Real Heroes 400. Kyle was dragging splitters. He was almost crashing every lap. So, very thankful that NASCAR did that. And if that's something going forward to where we just roll them out on Wednesday, no practice, no qualifying, I would like to see something like that going forward. Have a little mid-stage caution to kind of, get the cars right.
Exactly.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, every little bit helps. And so Bowman, God, guys, he was looking fast early in that race. Took the lead from Brad Keselowski on lap 45. Hendrick cars were just looking so damn fast early in that race.
Yeah, beginning of
Yeah.
20 just looked really good for Alex Bowman. He's really just picking up where he left off. I mean, he might have the ugliest sponsors out there, but his cars are fast, so that's all that really matters. So I definitely have been impressed with Alex Bowman and the whole Hendrick organization, honestly.
Yeah.
Yeah, those Chevys are looking fast when they got a little help with that nose this year. Now they're really looking competitive. I don't know where this kid came from all of a sudden this year because, you saw it at times last year, but you also saw him really lose focus in integral parts of the season last year. Me personally, I was almost hypothesizing he would also be out of a ride at the end of the season this year solely because of the number of drivers that are going to be talented and have some notoriety that will also be looking to move into other positions here. Obviously, he's re-signed and he's deservedly done so from the way he started this year so far. Yeah, just really cool to see the evolution of his career to where he came from to where he is now, and almost being to the point where he expects to be running for wins so far this year. It's amazing.
That's awesome.
I'm damn proud with the Hendrick organization of how they've showed out this year, not just with Bowman and kind of the surgence of his career, but guys like Byron. Maybe the finishes haven't shown, but Byron was very much fast and running in contention at Darlington on Sunday, and even Jimmy. Jimmy's been in positions as well where he's had really fast cars And he's proven himself time and time again this season that, he can at least compete. And I'm not sure that's something that the Hendrick organization as a whole could say they've been able to do the past 2 years, is compete with the top guys and really have the speed to go up there and grab the lead and show consistent speed. So to see Hendrick as a whole kind of, grab that flagship again for Chevy and carry that is really cool to see. But man, Bowman, I mean, the kid is awful impressive. I will be the first to say I never expected this out of him in the '88 team, but they're doing a really good job.
Yeah, I don't think anyone did. And then Hendrick continued to show that power as Jimmy Johnson took the lead with 10 to go in stage 1, but that didn't last. He decided to race really hard on the final lap and kind of took himself out, ending his race. And then William Byron goes and takes the first stage.
Hey man, we saw it twice. We saw it twice in both of these races. Veteran champion made a mistake, and that's what Jimmy Johnson did here. He just took matters into his hands a little too early to my liking. I mean, this is for the end of stage 1. If this was like going for the win, then yes, I understand. But this is not even through stage 1 yet. It was just an aggressive move that he just misjudged it, and he paid the price.
It didn't need to happen.
Yeah,
really fast.
Yeah, he didn't even need to get around the 17, I don't think, to held on and get the stage win there. I think he had enough of a lead built that had he just rode around or lifted a little early on corner exit and really gave himself room, he probably still coasts to the stage win. And who knows what we're talking about after that, because he was looking really fast. So far be it for me to criticize Jimmy Johnson. He's forgot more about driving a stock car and winning than I'll ever know. But at the same time, it was almost – foreshadowing to something we're going to talk about a little later down the line. It's almost like, do we really just see that? Is this happening? That level of mistake is just unfathomable almost.
Yeah, like I said, it's been really nice to see Jimmy have speed again, especially in his last year. But it's like the guy almost got too much of a stiffy there in the lead, and that was completely avoidable. And there was rewatching it and stuff. It was like there was no reason for him to get around the 17 right there. He could have, I'm sure he would have got to the 17 would have lifted on the back straight away for him, as, most of the laps do. But, I was puzzling to me because I've never seen Jimmy make such a mistake like that. Jimmy has always seemed like such a polished driver, such a, smart driver. It's really been most of seeing him growing up as a fan, it's been more of like his brain that has got him in, tremendous situations rather than his talent. I mean, don't take that as I said it, he's tremendously talented, but, he's always been really smart. So, I mean, that's still really good for that team that they were able to do that, but man, that sucks for Jimmy.
Yeah, it's almost like something like you and I were kind of saying in our group chat, watching Jimmy do that and a certain other event we'll talk about down the road, it was almost the equivalent of me of watching like Kobe airball like an 8-footer at halftime in like a 4-point game. Everyone in the stadium would just be like, what do we just see?
Yeah.
That never happens. That's like exactly what it reminded me of. It's like to see a driver his caliber, his talent, his experience to do something that kind of silly. That's something you would see like a driver who doesn't have the experience of running up front, bringing it home do, not the guy that's done it more than anybody racing right now.
Right.
Yeah. And then, we're glad that William Byron won that stage because he got loose on lap 19 of stage 2, and he hit the wall real hard with some heavy damage. Eventually brought out the caution by spinning into turn 1.
I mean, Hendrick's day in the first stage, Hendrick Motorsports was looking like so awesome. Everybody was doing great. And then just a matter of, it's just like Johnson fell, and then down goes Byron as well. So it's just like the dominoes just kind of fell for Hendrick Motorsports in that race. Because Byron, he had a good car there too. I mean, William Byron could have won last year's Southern 500. He had a very strong car there last year, so I expected him to run well on this. But yeah, he just got loose and lost it. So it sucked to see as well because he also had a very strong car.
Yeah. And then we saw it with Kevin Harvick going against the wall. He ripped off the blue Emu banner, and it got stuck on the Denny Hamlin's grill. and then went over to Tyler Reddick's grill. So they were kind of playing tag with the debris. So I think they just need to paint the walls at Darlington. You can't put up that vinyl kind of, that crap, man. It's just
all I'll say on the matter is Blue Emu, no comment.
I was just gonna say, like, how ironic would it have been if that banner fell onto Bubba's car and Bubba carried down the Blue Emu?
Because he'd have had the cojones to say something about it on Twitter in the post race too. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean that was just that happening was just amongst the some of the craziest things I've seen in the last 4 days that I don't know if I've ever seen in racing that have taken place the last 4 days at Darlington. So, I mean, to say that's the craziest thing we've seen the last few days, I'm not sure, but that's definitely a first. I've never seen a piece of wall art be ripped off like that and shatter on cars as much as that Blue Emu sign did. But credit to Blue Emu, they got a little bit of exposure because of that.
It just reminds me of the Rolls race where Chris Buescher took the banner with him.
That was great. And we got Brad Keselowski winning stage 2. And there you go. And restart with 33 to go. Alex Bowman gives Kevin Harvick a run for his money. Guys, Alex Bowman was looking fast that entire race. Kevin Harvick, he took off, though. He won the race for his 50th career win. And it was weird seeing him in victory lane with a mask on and no teammates in there.
That was the most sad. That's the saddest victory lane I've ever seen.
Yeah.
I just want to know, based on what we know you did after that, how much of victory lane do you remember, Ian?
A good amount still. A good amount.
We'll just say our mans did some celebrating.
I'm glad you and Dakota got you guys celebrating on. It was very well deserved, especially after the 2-month hiatus. But that last battle was just really just David versus Goliath. I mean, Bowman was kind of forced to use up his stuff early just to try and get around the 4, and it seemed like once he used up his stuff off that restart, Kevin kind of had him at his will. But I thought it was a really good battle because both those cars were obviously very strong. All day, and I don't think anybody, I don't think the rest of the field could have touched those 2 cars. So to see them kind of battle it out in the closing laps was very cool, and to see Harvick get the first win back was cool as well. And I also predicted that on our pre-race Skype.
Me and
Bud going on with predictions here. Anybody want to know what's going to happen next race? You come to us.
Yeah,
exactly.
Right.
We're getting better with
these.
Hey,
it's good because the first season when I first came on with these 2, we were so bad. We were like, maybe we just stop predicting.
To finally get one right. It is crazy. Yeah. Well, it's not like we would go out there picking the superstars every race. Like, we would try and mix it up a little bit, but it came back right in the ass because we went like 0 for the first 50 with all of our combined picks.
And if I remember right, the first race we actually got right was like an Xfinity or truck race. It wasn't even a cup race. It was something ridiculous. Yeah.
All I remember is I got the first one right. So.
Yeah.
There you go.
Oh, yeah. Big Daddy Ian bringing it home for the team. Look at that.
That's great. All right, boys, let's go into the Toyota 500. It was on last night. Guy Fieri brought us to Flavortown with the command of fire engines. That was awesome.
Yes, it was.
Always good to see that, man. And then we had Ty Dillon running the Geico Hump Day car, starting on the pole. That was cool. I tell you, I think I might have to order that diecast just because of how awesome it is.
It's a good thing they got that race in last night because it wouldn't have served its purpose if it had to be ran today. Because then it's just like the significance of the Hump Day. It's just like,
right,
man.
All right. Let's put on a new one. Let's rip it off.
Yeah.
I was about to say if that race was ran either today or tomorrow, that would be a bit of a letdown for the Geico sponsor on there. The execs would kind of be like, "Oh man, this kind of defeat the purpose."
Yeah, right.
Just that goes to show Mother Nature has Geico insurance.
Yeah.
And then caution on lap 3. John Hunter Nemechek gets loose after close racing with Kenseth. Heavy damage for the 38. Not a good start for the rookie, especially after a really good performance on Sunday.
Exactly.
Up of the rookies on that first race. So that was really disappointing to see.
Yeah. And then caution for Nemechek again as another tire goes down, just damage on the car. He can't take it around anymore, so he's got to bring it down pit road again.
Yeah, I was very impressed to see how much better we got as a whole field to make it 3 laps.
Yeah.
But at the same time, John Hunter, Tyler Reddick, both 2 rookies who had really good races on Sunday, kind of struggled yesterday. I mean, John Hunter was kind of out of it early and seemed like Reddick just kind of struggled all day. And I've, one of my pet peeves is just seeing NASCAR Twitter explode with when one of these rookies has a good race, you'll see him, kind of go over the top about them, being like, oh, they're out here like whooping the field, or they're running better than so and so, like future champion ? And to me, it's kind of like, can we just have like a level head here? Like you can't judge a rookie by his highest high and his lowest low. Like you just gotta like, you're gonna have those races. If you're a good talented driver, you're gonna have those races. I mean, sure, John Hunter, showed that maybe all the other front row drivers in the past just suck, considering just drive that car up and.
That was a nice way of putting it.
Yeah, and to drive that car in a position that he was, in, you're gonna have high highs and lows like that. So I try not to get over the top about these rookies.
Yeah, like you said too, especially in a guy that's in a situation that he's in with that front row team. It's like you can't expect too much. So all you can really do is, when he has good races, applaud it, and when he doesn't, kind of understand, the situation he's in. It's his rookie year. It is what it is. And I agree. I hate it because you see it both ways. Somebody starts off awesome. They're the next coming of Jeff Gordon or Kyle Busch or whoever you want to throw in there. Or, if they have a bad couple races, they're the worst thing ever, Buckshot Jones or whoever you want to put in that one too. It's like, guys, come on, let's let it play out. We live in such an instantaneous, want to have gratification or criticism kind of society. It's like, guys, Jeff Gordon, like we've talked about before, tore up a bunch of race cars his rookie year. There are a lot of guys that didn't have great rookie years and went on to have great careers, and it goes the other way too. A lot of guys that had awesome rookie years that we've never seen since. So,
yeah.
The 2019 Cup career. That was a tough season, boys.
Yep. Our favorite one-season wonder around here.
Oh,
yeah,
man.
right.
Let's not go there. I'm not swinging tonight on this show, boys.
Hey, man, we're all full of piss and vinegar. We got racing back. We got stuff to talk about for a change.
Oh,
So.
yeah.
Damn straight. And then we get a competition caution on lap 25. And then Boyer goes on to win stage 1. He was looking fast the entire race, boys. And then lap 70, Ryan Preece, he has some engine problems, not looking good for the Tide Chevrolet.
And that's another disappointing one right there, because Ryan Preece finished 7th in the first race, I believe, or somewhere in the top 10 in the first race. And he was running top 10 in that second race, too, really, until that engine expired. So that's another disappointment.
Yeah. Also, though, that Tide paint scheme was mint.
Oh, dude,
absolutely bizarre.
I've always been a big fan of the Tide paint schemes as well, especially the ones on Kenseth's car in 2017. I was a big fan of those.
Oh, yeah.
But yeah, so I mean, it like, just like Preece, it sucks to see he's another, kind of young driver, only his second year in Cup. So, it does suck to see him, have a, follow up a good race with the bad one, but, it'll happen. So.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's going to happen to everyone. And then lap 12 of stage 2, Chris Buescher brings the caution out from getting spun by Michael McDowell. Didn't really receive any damage from that one, so he was all good to go. And then lap 32, Blaney got some heavy damage from hitting the wall way too hard. I think he wanted way too much of a Darlington stripe.
Well, he's trying to rip that nasty paint scheme off for one, but
yeah, I don't blame him.
Yeah, just a really frustrating part of the race for me. I think he's kind of overdriving there. Kind of a little bit of head scratcher move for the 12 team there, pitting when they did, giving up the track position, which, as we all know in that race, we didn't know when the rain was coming. We just knew that it was coming. So we weren't really sure what kind of car the 12 had. I always kind of hypothesized during the race, like, is he that good right now because he's running second or third, or is it because, the field's still kind of backed up from the top 20 kind of reversing the starting order. And then you do something like that and you put your driver in a weird spot. Just Blaney overdrove. It was just the culmination of Blaney's Darlington week. Was like, yep, this is just perfect. let's get out of here as fast as we can, boys.
Yeah,
Mike,
right.
if you had to grade Blaney and Todd Gordon as a crew chief driver couple the first 6 races in, granted everything that we've had go on where we've had
Oh my God.
how would you assess them as a pairing, and what do you expect going forward?
Okay, so if you're looking for that, it's the most peak and valley relationship so far through 6 races. There's the first handful of races before we had the coronavirus shutdown. They looked like the team to beat. Blaney was, for multiple races, the points leader and just looked like the man. That car was fast. Him and Todd Gordon seemed to really be hitting, even though Todd did have the big pit road mistake, bringing him down pit road when everyone else stayed out. That cost him a win early in the year. And then you get to these 2 races so far, and I honestly probably really couldn't be too much more disappointed. Don't think Penske as a whole did a subpar job kind of getting their cars ready for the weekend. None of the cars really looked overly fast on the long scale of the race. Yeah, they all had their moments, but nothing that, was there at the end really hey, we got a chance to win this race. Honestly, so far with the peak and valley, just because they were good for so long and it's really hard to knock them too much with everything that's going on, I'll give them a little bit of a pass now that I'm not as emotional that it's not a race day and it's not right after the race. I'll go B- C+.
That's pretty fair.
On the season, yeah.
Not bad at all. And then more problems for the rookies. We have Cole Custer sliding. Yeah, Cole Custer sliding the wall. Not a good day for him. Just not a good day for the rookies.
No. I think if anything, this Wednesday night race does speak to the skill of this series, because although we joke, we made a whole 3 laps without having a yellow this time. Wahoo! At the same time, look at the difference between a Sunday to Wednesday race, how much better some of those veterans got. So you saw how fast they adapt to the situation from Sunday to today, and it was a whole different story. It was night and day. So again, to me, speaks to the quality of the talent of these drivers, the teams, crew chiefs, so on.
Very well said. I think you're exactly right. And last week on the show we kind of prided the show on Darlington's going to be a veteran. Both races are going to be a veteran type race. I think race 1 we were kind of proven wrong by how well the rookies did and guys like Alex Bowman, pretty much just the young gun class. But definitely race 2 showed out to be the vets with some unfortunate errors on the hand of the rookies. But I think race 2 is more of what we predicted and expected last week on the show.
Exactly.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right, boys. And then Cole Custer's teammate, Clint Boyer, goes on to win stage 2, goes on to sweep the stages.
It came out of nowhere, honestly.
Yeah.
It really did. I did not see him going on and dominating this race.
Would dominate the beginning part and middle part of this race. I would have thought you were crazy. Just because of the season that the 14's been having the last 2 years. I would have thought you were crazy for saying he would go out and dominate stages 1 and 2. But
it's not the most Clint Boyer thing ever, though. I mean, this has kind of been the Clint Boyer that we've come to know. He'll run average. He'll be decent enough to get by, and then boom, out of nowhere, some race will come by, blistering fast, hard to beat and stuff. And that honestly looked like what it was going to be like yesterday until the mistake came. But man,
that's a typical Boyer run, man. He'll run so good, and then by the end of the race, he's freaking wrecking. He's on fire. Who the hell knows what's going on?
How well he runs, and then the piano just drops on him at some point.
Yeah.
I was just going to reference that Jeff Gluck tweet. I was like, yep, that's exactly what it is. That's exactly how it's going to go. You're almost expecting, when is he going to screw this up to a degree? Yeah.
Yep.
So, which is weird because I love Clint. We were kind of saying in our little private chat, it would have been the greatest thing in the world for NASCAR. Man, we need us a Clint Boyer win celebration. That'd be incredible.
Yeah. He would not have made it to the Xfinity broadcast today, though. If he won.
He came in with sunglasses on, and you would have known that was all about.
And I don't know if you guys saw, but I think they did an interview with Chase Briscoe before the race, and they're like, who have you been talking to get used to Darlington? He was like, oh, I've been talking to Kevin Harvick. And they were like, Clint Boyer, he ran really well last night. I was like, yeah, but it didn't end well, so I didn't want to talk to him.
No,
Oh, I didn't hear that. The shade. The shade.
They were just messing. And Clint, he was in the studio, and I think they just like mentioned it or something, and he was just laughing. And then 3-4 wide racing at Bristol. Boys, this was one absolutely crazy ass race.
We were racing.
If it was at Bristol, but unfortunately we were at Darlington. I will say, Eric Jones, showed me that he has some of the biggest nuts in the field last night, coming off turn 4 and just turning under Newman, and I believe it was Boyer, and taking the lead going off into turn 1, going into turn 1 3 wide at Darlington. Good Lord, I don't know if there's anything harder to do in Cup racing. So, kudos to Eric Jones for, channeling his big nuts and just saying, screw it, I'm gonna go down here and make it 3 wide.
I mean, dude, I wouldn't even do that goofing around in NASCAR heat, and he had the cojones to do it in real life. It's like, okay, man, maybe you are really good here after all.
Yeah, right.
He was kind of another one. It's like he was lingering in the top 10 most all the races, and then all of a sudden, this guy just shoots out of a cannon. I'm like, where the hell did Eric Jones come from? And then I'm thinking here for a second, like, wow, he's going to go back-to-back here. Like, for a split second in my mind, I was like, watch him go back-to-back here. That would be nuts.
Eric Jones is really he's really carving himself into being like a Gibbs type driver, the type driver who can kind of just turn it on and turn it off whenever they feel like. And he's really following in the footsteps of his teammates, because that's literally seen what it's been like the last few years. But Darlington's a really good track for him, arguably his best track. So
so after that, yeah. And then we got green flag pit stops going on while Kenseth goes and spins on with 50 to go. Yeah, well, everyone's going to debate that spin.
That ain't the only one of the weekend we're going to debate there, Bubba. There were quite a few who was like,
Yeah.
Yeah, they bubbled it for sure, man.
Yeah. And then Keselowski stayed out during the green flag pit stop, so half the field had to go around for the wave around.
That was some of the quirkiest, that was the quirkiest type green flag pit stop cycle I've ever seen. For one, it was nice to see a green flag pit stop cycle because it seemed like we couldn't stop crashing after 30 laps.
Yeah.
The last 2 races. So it was good to see that we got one in. But at the same time, I mean, I think when Kenseth spun, there was only 4 cars on the lead lap. Yeah. Then he got the lucky dog at P5. I mean, that was just really weird. And then when they lined back up for the restart, you had Stenhouse lining up inside and then Kyle outside, but P5. It was really weird. But hey, it worked out for Keselowski and Brennan Poole, of all people who.
Yeah.
So, yeah, for, me being a Blaney fan, too, it was the most frustrating thing. It was early in the race, we're getting cautions left and right, and it kind of helped us because, again, we didn't really know what kind of car he had. But then once he takes a damage and he's fighting for the lucky dog, it's like, for the love of Christ, can I get a yellow so I can get back on the lead lap here? And they're like,
there you go, man.
Nah, not today.
I think they said something. They had upwards of 23 wave around cars. That car.
Yeah.
It was nuts.
It was half the field.
It's crazy.
Absolutely.
It reminded me of that really wonky, if you guys ever played NASCAR Heat Evolution, the first one that came out. It was if you played it for more than 3 races and you play with any kind of length, it seemed to always work out that way, where you go to any short track, it'd be you and 2 other people on the lead lap, and that was it. When I saw that's exactly what it reminded me of. I was like, oh, NASCAR Heat Evolution race, here we go.
Yeah.
NASCAR game that is ever coming out.
The worst.
The worst.
Oh, man.
No arguments for me there.
Yep. And then we were just talking about it. Boyer brings out the caution, smacking the wall. Tire goes down.
Oh, no, man.
From the highest of highs to the lowest of lows. That's the story for Boyer.
Are you really shocked, though? Because, like we said, that's Clint Boyer for you in a nutshell right there. And it really sucks because I love Boyer. I love when Boyer fired up and when he wins races, because those celebrations are simply the best.
His Martinsville celebration was amazing.
Can Can you imagine what a celebration for Boyer would be like now, especially that he's hooked up with Barstool Sports too?
Oh my God, him and Portnoy will go rowdy.
Oh yeah.
I can't wait till fans are back at the track and Dave's able to come to a couple more races. And honestly, if Boyer does win a race, I hope it's one that Dave is at, just to see like that big old celebration of the concoction of him, Brett Griffin, and Dave Portnoy all celebrating together. That is a story waiting to happen.
I'll be asleep for a couple days.
That would be the best story they never remember.
Yeah.
And then we got Denny Hamlin taking the lead on the restart after the caution. And then with 29 to go, Kyle Busch gets into Chase Elliott, causing 9 to spin and crash. Kyle Busch, he just kind of misjudged where Chase was and took out NASCAR's most popular driver. So, and now NASCAR Twitter is in a civil war right now.
I think Chase Elliott fans love that wreck, honestly.
Yeah. All I got to say, Connor Bunn, take it away from here, buddy. Can't wait to hear.
Yeah. I was very active on Twitter last night, and I'm never usually that active during or after a race. Nothing really kind of fires me up that much, but when it comes to, in my opinion, one of the most toxic fan bases in my rowdy nation, going head to head, I couldn't resist myself. I hit on it last night and some today, and it was a mistake, and I think the one thing that really bothered me the most is people saying, well, how do you make that mistake, or how do you do that, or come on, dude, you had 10 feet behind you. But reality is none of us collectively as a fan base are drivers. We've never been drivers. We've never been in that position late in a race where you got to take every inch you can, especially in this package when, getting any inch you can means everything, especially with how hard it is to pass. Kyle said he had one eye out the front window and one eye in the rearview mirror, making sure he was clear, and just totally misjudged it by a big amount and stuff. And that really sucks. But, just for the people saying, like, how do you make that mistake? It is Kyle Busch. He's debatably the best in the sport, and he's made that mistake more than one time with Martin Truex back in 2018 at Bristol. And, it's is it a head scratcher? Absolutely. Is Kyle wrong for it? Absolutely. But when you're at that high, when you're in the position he's in late in the race, and you're competing at the highest level like he is, of upwards of 15 plus years now, mistakes like that are going to happen, whether you're the best or the worst in the sport. And I think another thing that really made me mad was how NASCAR Twitter reacted, and how some people made an absolute fool of themselves with their comments after the race. I think Kyle handled it absolutely amazing. I think he has handled this better than anything he has ever handled revolving him being in some sort of, drama in his NASCAR career. He got out and said, you know what, it was my fault. I'm going to own it. He went to talk to Alan Gustafson. He, said to the media, as he has way too many friends over there to be doing that stuff on purpose. Like, it was a total accident. It doesn't make it right, but, it was his mistake. He reached out to Chase. Him and Chase had a very nice, cordial conversation, to my understanding. And, that, to me, that's very encouraging, because I've been a Kyle Busch fan since 2008. I've literally seen the highest of highs and the lowest of lows of Kyle Busch. Had this been 10 years ago, Kyle Busch would have got out of the I don't care. He wrecked.
Yes, he would.
He wouldn't have thought twice. But it just shows the maturity of Kyle Busch and how far he's come as a driver and a person in his career. And and I think NASCAR Twitter, there will never be any happy medium with Kyle Busch. If Kyle Busch would have got out of the car and said, F it, people would have been like, oh, what a, he's an and stuff. But he got out of the car and he owned his mistake and he said he's sorry, and people are still saying, oh, he didn't mean it. Yeah. What do you want from the guy? What do you want from the guy? Because
that was a very humble answer by Kyle Busch. Like,
really,
respect to him for that answer.
Like, what's he supposed to do? Run up and kiss Chase Elliott on the lips right after it or something? Like, Jesus.
I'm sure that's what some Chase Elliott fans think. And that's just, it's just like, you could hear by his voice in his interview how how he knew he messed up really bad, and how how embarrassed, I got the impression of how embarrassed he was by making that mistake. And, it's racing and stuff like that happens. If roles were reversed, we wouldn't be having the same conversation because, NASCAR Twitter would have erupted.
Oh, they would
And,
preach the man because he's
and-
NASCAR's
Yeah.
golden boy. They
but
would
it's a racing ordeal, and it just happens to be NASCAR's most popular driver versus the most polarizing driver. And if you ask me, I'd rather be the fan of the most polarizing driver because popular doesn't always equal the best, and just because you're well liked doesn't mean you're always the best. If you're polarizing, I think you're doing something right.
Yeah.
Right.
So listen, go ahead, Nick.
okay. You go first. I'll go second.
All right. What I was going to say on the matter was I think Wednesday night was a great lesson that the great, amazing, talented Kyle Busch is, in fact, a human being.
He's not a robot.
Yes, he's not a robot. He makes mistakes just like everybody. Don't forget, this is the second race back after a long layoff at arguably the hardest track to drive on the schedule. So if you're going to have some kind of mistake, it can conceivably come from a track like a Darlington where, it's tough to drive as it is, let alone in that situation. I just think being a neutral fan, my take on it is, again, it was the mistake was by such a margin. It does leave that in the talent of Kyle Busch being the driver that, made the mistake. It just leaves enough of that margin for, well, I'm not saying by any stretch that he meant to, but because it was such a big mistake and such a spot by a driver that you would never expect, it does let your imagination kind of play in that what if area. And, obviously drivers, being Chase fans are going to get, up in a tiffy about it and get upset because, that's their driver. And we all know the nature of Nine Nation, how they get down over there. Yeah. But no, I agree with you. I think I've been vocal in saying this before. I think the best thing that could ever happen to NASCAR is if we get a really big Kyle Busch, Chase Elliott rivalry. I think it has the shapings to be the 21st century version of Earnhardt Gordon in a way. It's the best driver versus the most popular driver, and an up-and-coming driver versus a veteran. There's a lot of parallels that could be drawn there. Not to completely compare the two because it is a lot different in the same way, but it could be the 21st century version of it. And I think that's the kind of thing that could propel NASCAR forward. That being said, a day into that rivalry, and I'm absolutely exhausted of social media. We were talking about in the group chat all day. We're looking at all these different people's tweets on Twitter. I'm to the point where I'm like, you know what, guys? I've had enough of this already. Let's just get into a race where these two run around each other and there's no drama and we can put it to bed already until the playoffs or whenever. So it's an exhausting situation from a neutral fan's perspective. And we're maybe 24 hours away and just looking down at the clock on my laptop.
Right. I mean, here's what I have to say about it. So yeah, he made a mistake. Everybody makes mistakes. Like Jordan has missed shots. Michael Jordan's missed shots before. Alex Rodriguez has struck out before. Stuff like
steroids, but hey.
Yeah, and took steroids. But athletes that make those kinds of mistakes, it's like Connor said, we are not race car drivers, so we don't know what that's like. And just the way that the Chase Elliott fans on NASCAR Twitter responded is just kind of disgusting. Like Samantha Bush.
Uh-oh.
Oh.
Uh-oh. Nick?
He's been canceled. He's been canceled by an Elliott fan has tapped into the stream.
We got
the 19 hackers got him. He's been silenced.
No, but is
he back?
Nick?
Bueller? All right. While we're waiting for Nick to come back, Ian, what you got for us on this? I know you got some thoughts.
Oh, well, really, obviously, yeah, it's Kyle Busch's fault. I'm glad he taken the fault to it, but we shouldn't, put this on him like, he acted onto it like he wanted to take out Chase Elliott. And yeah, it's just the crazy Chase Elliott fans, they kind of transitioned from the Dale Jr. fan base. I was a Dale Jr. fan growing up, but I wasn't as psycho as I guess as a lot of these fans are. But Yeah, just give Kyle Busch a break. He is human. He's not the most perfect NASCAR driver in the whole world. Yeah, he's going to accidentally take people out. Everyone's done it. I mean, yeah, big drivers like that make mistakes. Look at Kevin Harvick when he took out Trevor Bayne at Talladega. It happens.
All right, you said that just in time for us to get Nick back. That was bogus.
I can't see any. Yeah, my whole thing is frozen.
Yeah, you were gone for like a whole 2 minutes.
Yeah, I know. I can't see anybody. I can see Mike a little bit, but okay. So let me finish what I was gonna say here. Because I don't know where I left off at, but
I heard Samantha Bush and then it cut out.
Yep.
That sucked. Okay, so what I was saying was the response from Chase's fans on NASCAR Twitter was just really kind of disgusting. And even Samantha Bush put out on her Instagram story, comments or DMs that she's gotten from people, with death threats to Kyle and everything. Come on now. And here's this is 6 races in to a 36 race NASCAR schedule in season right here. And it was just, I just don't know. If this is a playoff race, sure, that carries more implications, but it's a 6 races in, and second race back from not racing in 2 months. Everybody makes mistakes. So, and Chase Elliott is a smart guy. He is not the one I really don't think much is going to come out of this. He's not going to make it easy on Kyle Busch, but I don't think he's just going to go out and flat out wreck the guy, because that's the kind of guy Chase Elliott is. He's got humble and everything, but you just can't say the same about his fan base, unfortunately.
No, I just think the only way that Chase gets back into this and does something controversial back is, again, they look at each other. We already know they had a phone call and talked about it. The only way that Chase does anything back is if they go, hey, man, let's see what happens. Let's roll the dice here and let's start making money off this bad boy. Let's get a little rivalry going.
Yeah.
That's the only way. That's the only way, in my opinion. Because I just think, like you said, Nick, we're 6 races in. What does Kyle Busch really have to stand to gain from going this long of a season, having a rivalry with a guy like Chase Elliott? It doesn't benefit him at all. Just makes the season harder.
These guys are going to be fine. Chase Elliott's going to go on and win races this year. Kyle Busch, they're both in good position right now to succeed. So there's really no reason to turn this into something, unless, like Mike said, they want to make a real. Just the kind of guy that Chase Elliott is. He's been through something like this before with another Joe Gibbs teammate and Denny Hamlin. So he really didn't make much out of that. I just really don't see anything coming out of this, just because of the kind of guy that Chase is. But his fan base can't say the same. They don't have the brains.
I'm on board with the thought of a healthy rivalry getting going. Let's sell some T-shirts. Let's get the rivalry cooking up a little bit. But you hit it on the head. Just to we're 6 races into a 36 race season. And Chase is a hell of a driver. He's super talented. I like Chase. He's the last person I'd want to see Kyle dump. If this was Logano, maybe my views would change a little bit. But Chase has got a tremendously long career ahead of him. Mistakes like this are going to happen, whether it's a polarizing figure like Kyle Busch that's going to wreck him, or somebody like Garrett Smithley that's going to wreck him. Things are going to happen. And if his fan base is going to, react like this to getting wrecked in a race that, you can say maybe he should have won, then they've got a long career ahead of them as fans of Chase Elliott, because they got to understand that stuff like this happens. Yes, it sucks that their driver has been on the end of the stick a couple times, but sometimes you got to go through the depth of hell to get over to the mountaintop. So
right.
Exactly.
It is what it is, and I just hope we move forward in a cordial manner, and we can just move forward, and Kyle doesn't have to get dumped, and I won't have to be pissed off about it, and we can just move forward.
Yeah. All I'll say to kind of finalize my thoughts on the matter is no real examples are kind of coming to mind right now, but I bet you with a little bit of ease and a little bit of use of the internet, I can find sometimes that Chase Elliott's made some mistakes on the racetrack and probably caused some people to wreck too in some situations. So If you live in a glass house, I wouldn't cast stones. I don't know of any perfect driver on the grid, so I'm sure there's going to be a time coming up soon where Chase makes a mistake too. And if it's a big time driver like that, I'm sure the Chase Elliott fans aren't going to want those fans in their DMs and going nuts like they did to the 18 fans.
Right.
I can't wait for that, to be honest.
Oh,
Yeah.
one last
I can't wait
thing
for
I
that
will
to
add.
happen, because they're
Yeah. One last thing I will add, though. Holy shit, we've been defending Kyle Busch on this show for like a half an hour. What happened? That's new.
Yo,
That's
That's
just
new,
something I
boys.
one of the number one fans
I
on the show.
never
when
thought I would.
I can feel the darkness taking over me.
Yeah. Hey, this
I'm
goes
like-
to show, man. We call it the way we see it, man.
I may not like the guy, but I'll defend him for stuff like that because Nick, before you came back, I was saying veteran drivers, they make stupid mistakes like that all the time.
Look what Jimmy Johnson did at the Roval a couple of years ago. He
Yeah.
didn't have to do what he did. He single-handedly screwed himself out
He
of a playoff
just
spot.
sent it. He just put
Yeah.
it in full send.
That was easily dumber than this. And that benefited me, so I can't really complain too much. So that created the Ryan Blaney blind squirrel finds a nut narrative, which Connor loves to run with.
Oh, which I adopted and started up on the road. But hey, you were one of the sole beneficiaries off of that. But hey, take Martin Truex and sub him out for Chase Elliott in that position, and how do Chase Elliott fans attack Jimmy Johnson? You know?
Oh my God!
Oh,
Yeah.
I mean, I made the
Hendrick Motorsports Civil War.
And I made the reference today on Twitter, and I'm not sure many people think of this because it was kind of an incident that got swept under the rug. 2017 Dale Jr. Swan Song season. Ryan Blaney wrecked him twice, 2 weeks in a row.
Yeah.
Yep.
Nothing was ever made of it, so it's just like.
Well, I remember Junior took a couple shots on Twitter saying like, "Oh, how could my damn neighbor do that to me?"
Yeah. Well, yeah, I was going to say the repercussions were, if you remember, Ryan Blaney was living on his property at the time, and he was playing about, I'm going to up your rent or you're evicted or something like that. It's like, man, if Junior gets it, come on, man. Like, let's move on already.
And I think it's monumental and it's big too for the sport that Junior has really stepped up in the defense of Kyle Busch too. Like Gluck tweeted last night, like, how do you make that mistake? Or like, what is running through his head? And Junior tweeted back at him. He was like, it's a mistake. That's what happened. Like, if it's Dale Jr. coming to the defense of Kyle Busch, somebody who has been at the forefront of maybe Kyle Busch's biggest drama that's ever happened in his racing career, then that kind of should say something to you.
Right. I could just hear Dalton in the back of my voice as soon as you said that.
Oh, boy. I FaceTimed him last night. He was a little amped up.
Oh, I bet. So he is. Listen, you're a little more reserved with your social media accounts, but Dalton does not pull a punch. So
No, he's full regalia, man.
yeah.
Crazy.
All right,
Oh,
boys. Well,
man.
that was a great conversation there about the whole Kyle Busch, Chase Elliott situation. Now let's talk about today's race that just got finished, the Toyota 200. We had my boy Noah Gregson starting on the pole from a random drawing. And then we had a little incident with Timmy Hill and Myatt Snyder. I don't know if you guys saw, but Myatt Snyder, he had a big old piece of sheet metal hanging off the rear of his car.
Yeah.
Yeah, I laughed at that because I was like, Timmy Hill. It's just funny that it was kind of Timmy Hill involved in that, and Timmy Hill is like, he was like the Pied Piper iRacer and stuff, and he kind of up coming off turn 2 and knocked the back end off Myatt Snyder off. But that sucks for Myatt. I like Myatt Snyder. I think he's a good little racer, and he kind of seems like he's getting into the stick sometimes. Noah Gregson, Las Vegas. That sucks for Myatt.
Yeah. Myatt Snyder's got a lot of Clint Boyer in when it comes to the luck thing too. He seems to always kind of have that stuff happen to him. So yeah, and like you said, I always thought that was kind of funny too. I was listening to it at work, kind of finishing up, and it's like, oh, Timmy Hill, iRacing legend. Here we go.
Our champion. How could our champion do something like that?
Right.
Our real life and iRacing champions messing up big this week, boys. What's going on in the world?
It's a damn shame. The esports world is on fire. And then we got Noah Gragson going on to win stage 1. Kyle Busch goes on to win stage 2. And then Kyle Busch gets caught speeding on pit road and falls to the rear. Just makes things way more interesting.
The best thing that could have happened for that race was that because we got such a fun battle.
The only
we got that really good battle.
Yeah, the only person who can beat Kyle Busch when Kyle Busch is at his best is Kyle Busch. And most of the time it is pit road. I cannot tell you how many races I've seen Kyle dominate and then just fumble his own you-know-what on pit road. But I will say one thing, that white Thank You Heroes M&Ms on the Supra, whoo, that paint scheme, I'm a big fan of that. And the 54 number on the side, I was a big fan of that.
Yeah,
that
definitely looks better on
bad.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I just think Kyle Busch is addicted to like, hey man, this is getting easy. Let's go to the back and try it again.
Yeah, he's a big fan of the field inversions. That's
Exactly.
Yeah, right. And then caution out with 15 to go. We had Michael Annett with a tire down, so making things really interesting here. Briscoe, Kyle Busch, probably one of the most legendary Xfinity battles I have ever seen. You got one of NASCAR's best versus one of NASCAR's up-and-coming stars. Just dog it out. That was an amazing battle, boys.
Yeah, that was great racing.
The year of Chase Briscoe, I think. I really think he has got to be that number 1 title contender at this point. He just looks flawless almost every single race this year. Yeah, he lets his aggression get. He's made some mistakes a couple tracks this year, but overall, he's just had a great start to the season. This is win number 2 for him on the season so far.
Yeah, because he won at Vegas, I believe.
Yep. I really think that Chase Briscoe is going to turn some heads this year, and he's going to have a really good season.
Yeah. Well, just like he said, with the big 3 being gone to cement his legacy, he personally thinks he has to win about 10 to 12 races. I think that number is a little high. I think that's a pretty lofty expectation to set for yourself. But in my opinion, also says a lot about you to set your expectations that high. But and again, too, I just think this speaks to how awesome this package is we see the Xfinity Series. I mean, look how amazing the racing is. That composite body, you can beat and bang on that bad boy in the corners and take Darlington stripes and not completely wreck your race car. And they can really get after it in those cars. And I think, this race here, again, just showed that. I mean, we'll talk about the finish in a minute and the contact there. You saw the racing here. We saw all the JRM cars trying to do everything they can not to wreck each other at times, going 3 wide. And the Briscoe Allgaier situation was amazing. This was such a fun, exciting race with all this stuff. I mean, the Xfinity races in the last year or two just have not disappointed at all.
No, hit on what you guys have said. It kind of seemed like last year it was kind of like the big 3 and me type deal with Chase Briscoe. He was always like the 4th best driver, best regular series driver, and in the field last year. And coming into this season, for me, he was the clear-cut favorite for the championship. He just kind of had the most experience. He seemed to be the most polished out of like the whole full season pack we have. So to see him get the win today was awesome, especially under the circumstances him and his wife was in. And just to see another Busch battle. I mean, we always reiterate back to 2003 when we talk about great Darlington races and talk about the Craven and Kurt Busch finish. I think it's kind of ironic, and it's really cool that we saw another Busch have a pretty iconic battle to the finish today. Granted, it was the Xfinity race, but again, very happy for Chase Briscoe and everything that him and his wife has had going on, and I'm glad that Kyle and Samantha have reached out and offered some advice and stuff to them. That was very awesome. That was an awesome touch to the end of this race, was seeing him get the win.
Yeah, I don't think there was anyone who didn't want to see that. That was just truly that was emotional, seeing him get out of the car. You can just tell how emotional he was, but that was awesome.
Yeah. That's just one of those things, you can't write it, and that's why sports are the greatest thing in the world, situations like that, where everything that guy's been through in the last couple days and everything, and he comes out and wins the race and battles one of the all-time greats to the finish for it, and what's going to be, what I think has got to be one of the better battles I've seen there in a long time for that win. I mean, you can't write that stuff. You can't script it. That was one of the best parts of sports right there.
And, that's probably going to be the biggest win of his career for a very long time.
Absolutely.
Yep, till he scratches that cup car itch and gets it done there. I'd probably say that one or a championship clinching one for sure.
Yep, he's coming for that 10 car, that 14 car. I'm calling it.
Could be. He could be. Yeah.
And all right, so now looking at Xfinity standings after this race, we got Chase Briscoe in the number 1 spot with 2 wins, and then we got Harrison Burton in 2nd place, Cindric in 3rd, Noah Gragson in 4th, Ross Chastain in the 5th spot. Then we got Allgaier in 6th, Ryan Sieg in 7th, Justin Haley in 8th, Brandon Jones in 9th, Michael Nett in 10th, Herbst in 11th, and Brandon Brown in 12th.
You just think back to the field that we had last year, and you rattle off those names. It almost just seems like, oh my God, like different.
Yeah,
So,
well, we don't have Big 3 anymore, so all these guys are showing their experience.
Everybody's a contender this year. Everybody's a contender in the Xfinity Series this year. It seemed like last year was like who's going to lock up that 4th spot in the championship race, and it was Allgaier, which I think a lot of people expected. But this year I'm beyond ecstatic to see what the Final Four will look like with the Big 3 gone. It just kind of seems like Chase Briscoe and whoever else wants to file in the next 3 spots.
Yeah, I would say right now my Final Four prediction would be Briscoe, Gragson, Chastain, and Allgaier.
That's spot on 100% what I would pick. Only thing I could see different is if like an Austin Cindric got hot at the right time.
Looking at standings after the Cup races, we have Kevin Harvick in the number 1 spot with his win at Darlington. Then we got Joey Logano in 2nd, Alex Bowman in 3rd, Denny Hamlin in 4th, Chase Elliott in 5th, Brad Keselowski in the 6th spot, Eric Almirola 7th, Truex 8th, Matt DiBenedetto is 9th, Clint Bowyer 10th, Ryan Blaney 11th, and Jimmy Johnson 12th, and Kyle Busch 13th, which is crazy to see.
Yeah.
He has not had a good start to the season.
Talk about a disaster class couple days for Ryan Blaney, man, dropping out of the top 10 in the point standings. Wasn't that long ago, I'm saying, hey, your points leader, Ryan Blaney, baby.
Yeah.
That seems like that seems like a distant memory now.
Yeah, Kyle Busch being 13th is it's a head scratcher, but we've just given away stage points like they've been Halloween candy this year. I mean, it's just kind of ridiculous. The last few days I was more than anybody else in the group chat at like, what are we doing here? We're running P20 the first 2 stages. Like, I understand, it's a long race. We got opportunities to get the car right, but I mean, we can't be giving away them. And, Kyle will get a win this year. He'll lock himself in the playoffs, but having that. Winning the regular season championship does mean something. It carries weight, and it carried weight for Kyle last year. So, that kind of sucks to see him 13th right now. Hopefully Adam and the boys can kind of, dial up the car a little bit better to where we can at least get some stage points before we get a win. We got to take some baby steps, but it's kind of just in 13th right now.
Yeah, I agree. And it's something I've talked about on this show before that I think is worth mentioning again, too. I mean, I feel like NASCAR is almost going through a little bit of a transformation like baseball went through and is still kind of going through within the last couple of years. Offensively, batting average, on base percentage were used as like your primary cursors for offensive output. And those are kind of going by the wayside as like BABIP and WAR and some other kind of stats are kind of coming into play to really get a better feel and a value for what's important for offense in baseball. And I think you're seeing that a little bit with NASCAR because I think gone are the days here where top 5s and top 10s are like this ruling stat that, oh my God, man, he's got a bunch of top 5s and top 10s. We look back to Ryan Blaney when he's a points leader. He had 1 top 5, and that was a 2nd place finish at the Daytona 500. But what was he doing? He was accruing stage points like it was nobody's business. He'd be 1, 2, 3 almost every stage. Or if he wasn't, he'd be leeching on for those last couple stage points at the end of the stages. And something would happen at the end of the race that would kind of cost him. But because he had those stage points, he ended up being okay. I think it's so important now with the stage racing to get up front and stay up front all race because you cannot give those stage points away. You can get stage points and have a terrible finish and end up having a better day than a guy that maybe didn't get some stage points and finishes in the top 5.
Right. And I mean, Kyle has finished this year. I mean, he's had 3 races where he's finished within the top 5, and he's had 3 races where he's just been really bad. Daytona, DNF there with the blown motor. The first Darlington, he put himself in really good position to get a top 5, and they left a wheel loose. He ended up 26, 2 laps down, and at Vegas was just horrible and walked away with 15th. But, looking back at the races he has been good at, Fontana, he walked into a second. Phoenix, he came away with third, and last night he miraculously finished second thanks to rain. And, the finishes have been there, but, we're not raking in all the points we need to be raking in to be where we want to be, and where, you kind of would expect Kyle to be in points. And, the finishes are great, but, we got to get some stage points racking in to help us out a little bit more.
Right.
Yeah. All I know is Nick's got to be a happy man. Matty D inside the top 10. And Ian, you don't get to talk. You're the points leader, as we all expected. So
Yeah.
That's a treatment I just I'm happy, but I need to see consistency out of the 21 car. He had no business finishing 9th last night. I was listening to his radio all night. His car was absolute in the second half of that race. So the rain really helped us out there. I've been saying all year, the story of the 21 car. He starts off a race, he's freaking amazing. And then after stage 2, he's terrible because they just can't find a long run balance for that car. That's the story of the 21 car all year. So while I'm happy he's top 10 in points, I don't know how long that's going to last.
Yeah.
Hopefully a while. I would love to see Matty D make the playoffs in that 21 car.
Oh,
that'd be incredible.
Everyone would.
Be awesome.
But hey, you also had Hemdog finishing in the top 10 today.
That was another one. It was like, yeah, I'm happy about it, but that's not going to do it for him. He's got to go out and he's got to win. So I'm happy with it, but that 8 car still just does not have the speed to run up front.
Yeah, he's running for
I got to be real with myself here. If he ever wants a shot. Yeah, top 10s ain't going to do anything, so I got to see what's out of it.
Hey, I got a question for you, Nick. Wood Brothers starts the second team with drivers Matt DiBenedetto and Hemdog. Who you pulling for?
It's gotta be Hemdog.
It's gonna be Hemrick all day.
Oh,
I kind of just lashed
Benedetto.
No, I just kind of lashed on at DiBenedetto because I was like, I love the Wood Brothers. Like Trevor Bayne used to drive for the Wood Brothers, so I was like, I don't have a Cup driver, so I'm just gonna go back to Team Wood Brothers now that Paul Menard's not driving that car. So yeah, it'd be Hemrick and
would drop everything if Trevor Bayne came back.
Yeah.
Hey, Hemdog gets a little money going and gets a little bit of better finishes going in that 8 car. He might find himself in the 47 next year. Who knows?
Something like, dude, just give me some kind of Cup ride for Hemrick next year, man, because he got bullied out of that ride. So yeah.
But Nick, the way your luck works, this is exactly what would happen: is Hemrick would come back up. In a situation like that, Wood Brothers starts a second team, and then at the exact same time, surprise, Trevor's back. Yeah. And then you have a nervous breakdown rooting for 3 guys.
That would be the best luck ever, man. Oh my god. He's coming back, and then Hemrick goes to a Wood Brothers entry. Let's go. Oh my god.
You would truly be Nick Kinsel, king of the underdog drivers.
Oh yeah.
Yep.
But hey, boys, I think that's a good spot to end our show here. We've been going on for a while here. We've had a lot to talk about. It's our first race review back.
Yes, sir.
Right.
But,
yeah, Ian, good luck editing this one, buddy.
Oh, I've been looking at the time count up. It's like, oh, I can't wait.
You're like, oh, Jesus.
I'm gonna be up all night because we're gonna need this race review out by tomorrow.
Very quick turnaround.
So it's gonna be a fun night. I'm gonna need a lot of Monster.
That a boy.
Shameless plug.
But we thank you for watching the Stock Car Spectacle. Thanks for joining us back for another race review. We can't wait to do it again next week after the Coke 600 week of racing. Make sure to look out for our preview for the Coke 600. Look out for a new episode of Kinsel's Classroom, another edition of the Gamblers Betting Odds. And so for the Stock Car Spectacle, I'm Ian Jortson.
I'm Mike Gamble.
I'm Nick Kinsel.
And I'm Connor Bunn.
All right, guys. Thanks
It's always
for watching.
so